Welcome to In Bed with Natasha. I've got a spring chicken in my bed. He's freshly flown in from San Francisco this afternoon here in Milano. DJ producer, MATRiXXMAN, welcome.
Thank you for having me. MATRiXXMAN at your service.
Fantastic. Well, we're excited because, we called you into Italy and it's your first time here.
That is true.
Yeah. So your first time in Italy and you get to come to Milan. Bummer.
I'm very excited, needless to say. Yeah, I've been looking forward to it.
So we're having you play tonight at Punkso Prada and we're super excited. But also our resident DJ, Simone, who we didn't allow in tonight in this interview. He's banned, but he's a super huge fan of you because he's like, you are the next big thing in electronic music. So, how do you feel about that kind of title?
He must be smoking some good weed, man. I don't know. That's a lofty title to live up to. I would say, I got my head down in the studio and I'm a loser, for lack of a better word. So that has enabled some cool things to happen, creatively speaking. But I appreciate that. I don't know.
So we were talking before, because I was talking to you about the fact that I'd also lived in San Francisco and things have changed a lot, but I was really interested now in the electronic scene, in California right now. We were talking a bit about a divide between San Francisco and Los Angeles, because I was like, there's not a lot going on there in LA. And I was thinking, how is it, and you're like, no, there is actually, but how is it working in electronic music today in America? Because a lot of it is happening, lots of things are happening out of Europe right now. So we've got Berlin, London.
That's a good point. I don't know. Yeah, the States, I feel like they're, it's to me, it's a highly ironic situation because you have Detroit and Chicago being the pioneers of this amazing music and then essentially neglecting it for the better part of like 20 years, I feel like. And I'm eternally grateful for Europe for kind of, repping and waving the flag.
Why didn't they ignored it for so long?
I think it was just a happenstance. It was just a byproduct of there was this sort of anomalous occurrence that happened, and then that was that. And the population, by and large, just kind of gravitates towards terrible hip hop and EDM and what have you. And not to vilify that stuff.
Of course. But when you go to LA or you meet a lot of DJs. Working in the States, a lot of them are playing hip hop, and that's what people play now. And you're like, well, where's the whole electronic music scene, And is it not to do with also the fact that the laws change and every club has to close down by 2 o'clock?
Obviously that has to play a factor, a huge role. San Francisco is a good example. In that the clubs all, for the most part, shut down at 2. And every once in a while, you do have some cool renegade parties, but they're not as frequent as one would think they are. But that being said, there's LA and New York both have really cool, sort of thriving, vibrant underground rave scenes.
Like illegal or? Legal?
I feel like off the grid.
Really? Wow.
And
that, I'm surprised you get away with that with the sort of police system in the States, just so harsh for us.
I feel like the cops have bigger fish to fry, so they're like,
people killing each other.
It's the least of their concern. A warehouse full of a couple thousand kids that they're
raving basically.
Exactly.
So what makes you continue to be in San Francisco? Let's talk a little about your music and the music you're making as well.
Not much.
Why are you there?
I'd say it's a product of just being in my comfort zone, which is a bad thing at this point because I kind of tend to like to switch up my environments, and so I think I'm probably due for relocating. But it is cool. There's been a sort of a mass exodus of sorts where a lot of the creative-minded folks have all moved to Berlin or New York or what have you, or LA for that matter, or even Oakland across the bridge. So there's some merit, I suppose, in being like one of the last of the Mohicans.
So how did you start out with music? You're a producer as well as a DJ. Obviously most people who DJ most people prefer the producing side of things, and then they DJ. How is that for you? How does it pan out for you?
How did I get involved in it?
Yeah.
Initially, I guess I've always been into music, and my first forays into production were god-awful attempts with drum and bass back in the late 90s, and thank God it never saw the light of day. It was it was nothing short of an abomination. So it's for the better that nothing transpired. But at some point, I remember hearing Warren Atkins CD. It was some sort of seminal mix he did, like a master mix or master or something. Some wax tracks, maybe that's what it was called. But it's like, at any rate, it was a really cool mix by Juan. And it covered the whole gamut of like sleazy, cool disco, like really deep house into sort of minimal stuff into techno to full on. So like it ran the gamut. And that shit fucked me up. It was like a huge paradigm shift. That was probably like early 2000s. And then from there it was like the most windiest like clusterfuck of a path where I was kind of following my instincts and making, producing rap and dance and all sorts of other stuff. With a modicum of success. I worked with some major label rappers and some cool folks, but none of it really like panned out in a weird way. And it's like, I guess things started to click with house and techno, which I'm grateful for.
And that's where you feel like more at home, basically,
definitely.
With your own sound as well.
I mean, as a producer, I'm I guess polyamorous, or maybe I don't know what the term.
I mean, I guess for like here, people who are like going to look at this interview or talk to you like, okay, producer, what does that mean exactly when one says I'm a producer of dance music? I mean, you're making records for yourself. Who are you making them for? You're working with a record label. You're putting up your own record label. And what's the whole industry like today? How does it inspire you to move on? What's the kind of the thing that's in the electronic? Because it's such a specific little niche world as well. That if you're not in it, you don't get it. To be honest with you. Like I meet people, they're like, "Oh, he's a producer. What does that mean?"
Obviously, at its core, like being a true producer means you're going to produce for
loads of
artists, and that's where my initial attempts, like I guess with production, they were all for producing. They all entailed producing for other artists. The cool thing was like the more I got into dance music, the more I realized, okay, I don't have to deal with these rappers that are a pain in the ass, or you're less tied up, and you can just do what you want to do, and you essentially produce yourself. And that, to me, was like the.
But you have your own record label. You're producing for a record label now, mainly. Like, how often do you put out tracks, and what's for a young producer who's looking at you going, okay, I want to do what MATRiXXMAN is doing. Then what's the hope in terms of being able to financially support yourself? You do that through DJing then?
That's correct. Be prepared. If you want to make a living and actually have a career in music, be prepared to struggle for many, many years. But the reward is it's amazing to be able to do what you want to do and live off of it. So, I mean, I don't know.
What do you think about all these big celebrity DJs now that like the whole, what do you think about like the Ibiza scene? I guess have you been
I've yet to, obviously I've been, observing from afar.
Yeah.
I mean, I do see like the hot and parties, they do tend to have some cool bookings, so it looks like there is maybe like a positive side to it. A little bit, I think it's a little too ostentatious for my taste, but that said, if there's a cool like party that does let you play some fucked up underground stuff, that I could see how it could be fun.
Without the bottles of Boe Chandon, basically.
I mean, I guess that's the nature of the beast, I suppose.
So is that when you're DJing as well, though? Do you feel like sometimes you've got to play to an audience, or you just do whatever you want? I'm testing you now.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one.
Because I'm a promoter, so that's the war that I have with DJs sometimes. You know, like I get it because I'm into music as well, so I get it. Everyone DJs consider themselves artists.
So I mean, anyone who tells you that
I've got to think about the people.
It's inherently a conflict of interest to some degree, because any DJ that tells you I'm just going to play the shit that I like is a fucking asshole, because you'll totally alienate the if you're unless you're just some weird fluke that has amazing taste that everyone else happens to like. I think there's always an element of reading the crowd and seeing what makes the most sense. Like if you're playing a place that kind of leans more towards like really dark, harder industrial techno, you're not going to go there and play a bunch of like
pop.
Exactly.
But also, you want to have the crowd into what you're doing, because I don't know, when you DJ, it's a great feeling as well. When you've got people on your side basically and into what you're doing as well. So what's happening in San Francisco in terms of music, club-wise?
San Francisco, there's some really cool crews and kids doing their thing. There's this crew, Honey Sound System, that I'm a huge fan of.
Oh yeah, I know them.
They're dolls. They're awesome kids, and they all kill it. And there's a couple of cool parties like As You Like It and Icy Hot. So yeah, there's actually some cool. There's a lot.
So there's cool stuff going on now as well.
Definitely.
So in terms of like you feel, and do you go down to LA much then as well?
I'd say I make it down there maybe three times a year. I feel like. Yeah, so once every several months.
But you're not relocating there yet, even though the weather's a bit better.
Yeah, it is better. But you do need to have a car, and the traffic is...
a nightmare. It's true. It's hard. So are you working on something in particular right now, like any kind of type of music or project?
Yes, actually. How nice of you to ask. I have a release coming out with the label Deck Montel, which I'm very proud of. They were also rated the #1 festival by Resident Advisors, so that's great. Very excited. It gets announced officially next Monday, and it comes out late December. So I'm excited about that. And then I have in the pipelines an album I'm working on for Ghostly, which is really cool too.
Okay, fantastic.
My first full length.
Fantastic. That's great.
So
well, we're super excited to have you play tonight at Concert Partner, and thanks so much for getting into bed. Now you can go to sleep finally. Cool jet lag. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.